And welcome back to another installment of Velvet Owl Does a Podcast for One Person. My listenership has just dropped week after week, and I'm down to one person. So, you one person out there, this is for you. I love you, and I dedicate all my love to you. This week, we are going to watch Sir Billi, Guardian of the Highlands. It's an animated film, and it's Sean Connery's final acting role, which he came out of retirement for. And the description is, Sir Billi is a skateboarding veterinarian and number one grandpa. He goes above and beyond the call of duty to rescue a goat who thinks he's a dog, an admiral who's afraid of the water, and a beaver who was raised by rabbits. There is so much awesomeness going on. This is going to be the greatest film ever about a skateboarding veterinarian. I'm psyched. The opening credits are a parody of the James Bond opening sequences, with all the kind of watery effects and the silhouettes of people. And I wonder if this was a decision made before or after they cast Sean Connery. Like, if they chose a different actor, would they have to, do a different opening credit sequence more tailored to them? Were they just kind of hoping, well, this is a great idea. Let's see if we can get Sean Connery. And the theme song is performed by Shirley Bassey, who, you should know who she is. But if you don't, I will tell you. She did the theme song for Goldfinger. Or maybe Dr. No. Or maybe both of them. She might have done a few James Bond theme songs. So, this is perfect to go with the opening credit sequence. And apparently Shirley Bassey is now a dame. And so that she gets that in her credit, Dame Shirley Bassey. And Sean Connery, who's also been knighted, he's Sir Sean Connery, he gets that credit too. So, first off, this film has managed to get both a Sir and a Dame. Although Dame Shirley Bassey was doing it as a favor for Sir Sean Connery. And also, they use Sir and Dame in their credits. Does anyone else do that? Judi Dench, I'm pretty sure in her movies, she's just credited as Judi Dench, not Dame Judi Dench. And Ian McKellen, I'm pretty sure he's knighted, right? He just gets credited Ian McKellen, not Sir Ian McKellen. But I gotta say, if I had been knighted and I had the title of Sir, damn well know that, damn right I will demand that credit. Hell, if I won an Academy Award, I would demand that my credit in every film from now on would be Academy Award winner Velvet Owl. I don't know if that's legal to do, since Academy Award, I think, is a registered trademark. But if I was Sir Velvet Owl, I would... You know what? I'm going to just start calling myself Sir Velvet Owl. Do I need to be knighted in order to start calling myself Sir? I mean, people who don't know my name, they will call me Sir or Boss. Sir Boss Velvet Owl. I like the sound of that. The film takes place in the Scottish Highlands, which Sir Sean Connery was in 2 of the Highlander movies. Was it just 2? He was in the first 2. I don't know if he ever came back for any of the sequels, because I gave up on Highlander at that point. But I wonder if they originally tried to get Christopher Lambert to be in this film, because he is the Highlander. But Sean Connery was also a Highlander, wasn't he? Okay, confession time, I've never seen Highlander. But I do know Christopher Lambert and Sean Connery were in that movie. So, this movie was made in 2012, but the CGI animation is about the level of the general commercials, the general insurance. So maybe I've been too harsh on those commercials, thinking that, man, they've got really poor quality CGI. Maybe that's just the kind of CGI you have these days, unless you've got an unlimited Disney style Pixar budget. This is the CGI that the rest of us have. We're not fancy rich CGI people. We're general insurance level CGI people. So it starts off with the police are rounding up beavers And this is the beaver unit of the police. So apparently beavers are such a big problem in Scotland that there's a whole unit devoted to beavers. Although beaver unit, you know, there's the canine unit, but they're not like rounding up canines. They have the canine on their team. So shouldn't the beaver unit have like a beaver? But they round up the beavers who are in these adorable little prisoner costumes. So I don't know, did they take the time to put these like outfits on the beavers before throwing them into boxes and loading them up on the truck? I don't know, but they're driving. The police are in their police car driving ahead. Meanwhile, the guy driving the truck, he's kind of hungry, which I can understand. We all get hungry from time to time. And he sees a candy bar on the floor. So he reaches for the candy bar. And as soon as he looks up, oh no, there's a rabbit in the road. Not just a rabbit, she's got a shirt on too. She kind of looks like a girl, so I'm assuming she's a girl. And she gets scared, and the truck driver doesn't want to run over the rabbit, which would be kind of a fucked up movie. But who knows? I mean, Bambi killed Bambi's mother, so anything can happen in a kid's movie. But the rabbit does not get run over. However, the truck does crash, and all the crates that were carrying the beavers come crashing out. And the cop manages to round up all of the beavers, except for one beaver that managed to hide away. And that beaver is just all sad and scared because he or she, I'm not sure yet, has a girlish voice, so I'm going to guess a woman, but, you know, at the same time, if it's a really young beaver, could be a little boy beaver. But the beaver's all alone as the cops drive off into the night. But luckily, the rabbit that almost got run over is there, and the rabbit's going to take the beaver in. And then we get a text screen telling us that all the illegal beavers have been sent back to Norway. I don't know the politics or genealogy or anything about animals, or geography, or really anything, so I don't know, was there a problem where beavers were illegally sent to Scotland from Norway, and they had to, like, just gather them all up and send them back? So is this a parable for, like, illegal immigration? We're gonna go with it. I don't know if Scotland actually has a immigration problem, but, you know, it could be read as a parable for illegal immigration. So the beavers are the Mexicans that have gotten into America, and the beaver unit is ICE, and they've gathered up all the beavers and sent them back to Norway, which is Mexico. Could work. I am not going down any further down that rabbit hole. Intentional joke. Pun intended. Because, yeah, there's a rabbit going to take care of a beaver. But, you know, there have been sightings of the beaver and the cop. Well, it just says a rogue cop. I'm assuming it's that same cop is on the hunt for that rogue beaver. The cop is looking for some beaver. Oh, yeah. Phrasing. Then we see a duck. Or maybe it's a duck-billed platypus. I'm not quite sure. But she's flying a biplane, which seems to be a normal-sized biplane. It's hard to tell because there's not much for reference. But, so I'm not sure if it's like a tiny biplane or she's just a giant duck. And she's talking to us, saying she's our pilot. So I'm guessing she's going to be narrating and giving us whatever necessary exposition we need. And so we get a view of, I guess it's Scotland. I can't quite tell because there's a flag flying, and I'd be more likely to guess it's the Norway flag, but I don't know the Norway or the Scottish flag. So, yeah, we'll say it's Scotland because the cop is still there, and he's upset because he has to chase a smelly beaver. Phrasing. Seriously, this film is going to make me say phrasing like 5 gajillion times because it's funny. It's beaver's just a funny word, even taking out the sexual innuendo of it. It's just a funny word. And he's gonna keep talking about looking for beaver. Oh yeah. He's on beaver patrol. So, and then there's the milkman driving around, and he's kind of like a paper boy, because he's just, instead of like actually delivering the milk, just kind of tosses like cartons of milk. So it's a good thing like it's just a carton and not like a jug of milk or a glass bottle of milk. But still, like that could easily like just spill all over the place, just if it gets pierced by a rock or whatever. But it's Sean Connery's house, so he's got the milk. Even though as soon as he walks into the house, we see he has a cow. And maybe it's not his cow, because he is a veterinarian. So maybe he's just, trying to fix this cow, because he's got the cow, like, running on a treadmill and then going into a jacuzzi. But still, you got a cow. If you've got a cow, you don't need to go buy milk. Just milk the fucking cow. Sure, you don't get all the goodness of pasteurization with it, but it's fresh cow milk. Come on. Which, he opens his fridge and he's got like a ham, and he's got some eggs that are just there. They're not in the carton or anything. Like, what the fuck? You put your eggs in a carton so that they don't just slide off and crack on your floor. Jeez, like, has this guy, like, just been living by himself forever? He's just, like, a swinging bachelor at the age of 100, I'm guessing. Maybe 80. He's very old. He should know better to put eggs in a fucking carton. And there's a goat wearing Uma Thurman's yellow jumpsuit from Kill Bill. So am I supposed to find this sexy? Because, I mean, it's a sexy jumpsuit when Uma Thurman wears it. Not so sexy when a goat wears it. But maybe if you're into goats, you might think this is sexy. And plus, I think the goat's a boy. And we get a camera shot of the goat licking the camera, so it's like the goat's licking us. Which, I don't know what the director was thinking with that shot. Like, hey, let's... Because I don't even know what the fuck the goat was licking, is the thing. Because it wasn't, like, Sean Connery's point of view. There's no other animal in this room. And there was no object that the goat was licking. So the goat was seriously just licking the camera. I don't know what... Are we supposed to be, like, the invisible, like, viewer? Like, that goat just fucking broke the fourth wall to lick us. Then we get to a castle, which the on-screen text tells us is the castle of Sean Connery's daughter and his grandson, her son. And it's time for school, but the grandson, he's all rambunctious and just running around and using the hidden tunnels as slides, and this really pisses off the butler to the point that he pulls a sword and goes chasing after the kid, which the mom sees this and stops it, but doesn't go, yeah, I'm firing your ass right now. You're going after my kid with a fucking sword. I can't trust you, because if I wasn't here, you would have fucking stabbed him and sliced him open. But I guess mom just understands, like, she's probably like, yeah, I've been there. I've wanted to pull a sword on him, but we're not going to pull a sword on him. I mean, I guess that's just the difference between me and her in raising kids. I would fire the guy who pulled a sword on my son. But that's just me. Sean Connery and Uma Thurman goat pull up to the castle because they're there to pick up the grandkid, take him to school. And grandkid's all excited because he gets to leave the castle and that murderous butler. And Sean Connery's like, give your papa a big juicy kiss. Which, seriously, is really fucking creepy. I'll take my chances with the murderous butler, thank you. Just, I mean, one thing for, like, a grandparent to ask for a kiss. Like, yeah, that's just, family love and all that. That's perfectly innocent. But when the kiss is demanded to be juicy, that's kind of where I have the problem. I don't know how Scots do it. Maybe everything has to be juicy. So they're driving. The cop is still on the lookout for that beaver. Luckily, they did not say it in a way dirty enough for me to giggle like a schoolgirl. A schoolgirl that's forced to give Sean Connery a big, juicy kiss. I don't think I'm going to get over that. That's just... ugh. And they run into an American lady who's greeting her sister that's come, and the goat is all, like, excited, but not Sean Connery, because it's another Yank. And how are they getting visas? That's the problem with this country. Seriously, that's what he says. Which is bringing back to, maybe this film really is an allegory about immigration. Because not only are they trying to keep the illegal beavers out, Sean Connery's pissed about Americans getting visas, which is the other big problem in immigration, is, people overstaying their visas. And I'm not sure, but I think Sean Connery might be racist here. He doesn't like Americans. He likes the beavers. Oh, yeah. He loves beavers, and he loves pussy galore. Or as he would say it, pushy galore. Okay, yeah, that's probably the worst Sean Connery impersonation you'll ever hear in your life. No, there's probably will be worse you hear, but yeah, that was a pretty bad one. Now, while Sean Connery is a racist, he's also Sean Connery, and this blonde from New York has some really big fucking tits. So of course he's gonna put on the Sean Connery charm and offers to give her a ride. If you know what I mean. Now, he doesn't say if you know what I mean, but you know what he means. I know what he means. He's giving her the Sean Connery ride. He has a mustache, so yeah, he's gonna give the big titty blonde from New York a mustache ride. Meanwhile, the cop is still looking for that smelly beaver. Phrasing. The smelly beaver, well, I think it's unfair to call her a smelly beaver, but you know what? Even her rabbit family calls her a smelly beaver, so she's a smelly beaver. And like that, I lose my train of thought. So, but the rabbits take her to this big rabbit game thing of, like, it's weird, like, sort of sled thing with a log, and you go behind, and I don't know, I can't explain it. Just know that it's dumb, but the beaver, she kicks ass at it, thanks to her tail. Yeah, I don't get it either. I don't know, it confused the hell out of me, but her bunny brother got all upset, and he wants to show off how great he is, too. So he takes an even more dangerous course, and he ends up falling off the cliff and landing into the rapids, and his mom, who was trying to save him, she falls in, too, and she hits her head against a rock, so she's dead, I'm gonna say. Meanwhile, the brother is just kind of being swept away. He'll die too. But the beaver, since no one can save the rabbits because, bunnies can't swim. I failed, animal biology, so I don't know if that's true or not. But for the sake of this movie, we'll go with it. Bunnies can't swim, so it's up to the beaver girl, because... Beaver girl. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, D1 person that still listens to my podcast. But I giggle like a schoolgirl at the mention of the word beaver, so I will be giggling a lot because beaver. Oh my god. Listening to me giggle over the word beaver is more entertaining than this film, though. So, what happened? Oh yeah, the beaver jumps into the river to try to save her family. And one of the bunnies goes running for help when all of a sudden she gets hit by a car. The car being driven by Sean Connery, which he then yells, "Get out of the way," or "Look out," after he hit her. Seems a little too late to be, warning someone like, yeah, get out of the way or you'll get hit again, maybe. But somehow she survives because she didn't really get hit, even though you clearly see that she fucking got hit. And Sean Connery uses the opportunity to tell his grandson how important it is to wear seatbelts. Because, oh yeah, he's still driving his grandson to school. By the way, I don't see the big-titted blonde. So did he drop her off already? Or did she refuse, the ride? Because if she did, take the ride and they dropped her off, shouldn't they have taken the grandson to school first? Like, how fucking far from the school is the grandson, anyhow? I get, he lives in a castle, so he's all rich and powerful, so he can go to school wherever. So the bunny tells Sean Connery what's going on and how the two bunnies are in the river now and they're gonna float away to death or something. And Sean Connery decides he's gonna help them. So he tells the bunny to get in the car because they're gonna go round up the villagers. And I think Sean Connery's kind of rambling and doesn't really know what he's saying because he's just talking about rounding up villagers and they're all gonna save the bunnies and something. I assume this is gonna happen after they take the kid to school. Like, seriously, at some point he does have to go to school, right? I mean, what kind of excuse you give then? I mean, then again, he lives in a castle, so he's fucking so rich that he doesn't need to give an excuse. He's like, yeah, I'm fucking rich, and if you don't excuse me from being late for school, I'll get my murderous butler to stab you. Or you just tell him, I'm Sean Connery's grandson. Well, you're excused all you want, because we love Sean Connery. The beaver is trying to save her bunny brother, and they're both, on the log, but the rapids are just too quick. Meanwhile, the mother is, nowhere in sight. And remember, she hit her head on the rock, so I'm calling it. She's dead. Sean Connery has reached the village, because really, that is the plan. I guess they're gathering up the villagers, and he, tells them, and everyone's kind of like, well, yeah, we gotta save the bunnies, because I guess the villagers really like the bunnies, although there's gonna be a big problem, because the turbines in the dam are still going, and the rich aristocrat, yeah, the rich guy, he doesn't want to turn off the turbines because it's going to cost him a lot of money. Rich people are evil. But, he feels bad, so I think he's going to turn off the turbines. Meanwhile, the duck in the biplane is going to fly around and look at things. So, yeah, I guess everyone's aware of the duck that flies a plane. And still, it's nowhere near any people, so I still can't get a sense of its size. So I still don't know if it's just a tiny biplane or a giant duck. Please let it be a giant duck. Just ridiculously huge duck. And the CGI is so bad, I can't tell if the villagers are crying or laughing. Maybe both. I think the fisherman with the corncob pipe, yeah, he's definitely laughing. He just seems the type that would laugh about rabbits being in danger. Sean Connery then gives the cop a low-key threat. Not low-key as in Thor's brother Loki, just low-key, on the DL. It's not overtly a threat, but he is threatening him that if, he does any harm, he's got to deal with Sean Connery. Which, even in his old age, you don't want to fuck with Sean Connery. So, if he gave me a threat, I'm packing my bags and leaving town. But not the cop, because he's convinced that, that one of these creatures that's drowning is the beaver. And he's after some beaver. He's after the beaver. He's after a beaver. He's after beaver. I'm just repeating it over and over because it makes me giggle. Beaver. So he calls his partner, or his old partner, or someone. He calls someone on the force and convinces them to, come on up because the beaver's in town and they can capture the beaver and be heroes or something. And the partner doesn't really want to, but, he decides it's for the good of mankind or something. Meanwhile, all the villagers are running and getting on trains and stuff, and I just want to say, I want to thank the makers of this film to using some of the CGI budget to making sure that those big titties jiggle when they walk. If I were making a CGI cartoon movie for kids, jiggling titties is probably not where I would focus. Well, I mean, I probably would. But no, I would take my job seriously if I was making it for kids and not concerned so much about having the titties behave according to nature and jiggle when they walk. Because that's just so wrong, because we've already got, so much talk about beavers, smelly beavers nonetheless, that we're going to throw jiggling titties into this as well. Maybe that was Sean Connery's call. I want some smelly beaver and jiggling titties. I apologize once again for busting out my completely horrible Sean Connery impersonation. It's decided that the grandson's not going to go to school today because, it's late. We don't got time to take the kid to school because I don't even know how fucking far the school is. Is the school, hours away? Because according to Uma Thurman Goat, it's 10 o'clock. So, I mean, granted, they did have to stop to take time to, go gather up the villagers. But, if they didn't stop to drop the kid off at school first, school must have still been, quite a while away. But, but he's got to stay in the car because things are too dangerous. Because they found the mom, Bunny, she's against some rocks, her head's bleeding, so they gotta rush to make sure they get there so she hasn't lost too much blood and could be saved. I'm still calling that she's dead. But, you know what? Maybe this film isn't that dark that they're gonna kill her. One thing I want to point out, which I didn't think was possible with a completely CGI animated film, but as Uma Thurman Goat is going down the cliff, it looks like just fucking, horrible, green screen. It looks like the goat's standing in front of green screen. That really, obvious, where they don't have, enough, budget or good enough special effects to make it seamless. Or, you know what I'm talking about, just those really low-budget movies. But it's all fucking animated. So how does it not look like the goat is actually there in the cliffs? How does it look like it's a green screen backdrop? I don't know. It's kind of weirding me out. And the cliff backdrop just looks like something out of a Windows 95 screensaver. So maybe that's why they just took the screensaver and just pasted this goat on top of it instead of trying to do whatever CGI they need to do to make it look like he's actually in the background. He's not in this environment. How do you pull that off in CGI animation? I'm kind of impressed. I am impressed by how bad this is. CGI in 2000... What did I say? This film's 2012. CGI in 2012 should not possibly be this bad. And somehow they did it. They have made... it looks worse than CGI look in 92. It looks worse than that, fucking Def Leppard video with the CGI kid rocking out to Def Leppard Because, in 92, teenagers loved Def Leppard. I say that sarcastically, but I was a teenager in 92, and I was rocking out to Def Leppard, so... They reach the mama bunny, and she is conscious, so she is alive. But she can't move her feet, so they're worried that she's paralyzed. But Uma Thurman Goat is just encouraging her that you have to do it. You have to move your feet. Wiggle your little toe. I think, wasn't that the line in Kill Bill? When she's trying to get her feet to move again, and she's focusing on her little toe. And it's kind of like that, except Uma Thurman's the goat, not the paralyzed bunny. So, but through this encouragement and sheer willpower, she is able to move her feet. And just as a side note, because I'm watching this and there's commercial breaks, because I'm watching it off a free streaming service, and there's a commercial for the General. So it just all comes full circle with bad CGI, which I don't know why the General can't upgrade like their CGI graphics, considering they can afford to get Shaq to do these commercials. But the Mama Bunny does manage to move her foot, and so she's not completely paralyzed. There is hope for her. I don't know if it's just me, but it feels like the animation is getting worse the more this film goes on. Maybe I'm just noticing it more. I've just gotten a critical eye and I'm focusing on how bad it is. Or maybe they've just been running out of budget and go, oh shit, we spent a little too much on the jiggling titties, so we're gonna have to kind of start cutting some corners to make sure we get enough of the film. She reminds me of this film Bad Meat, which is this really horrible horror film that just has no act 3. It just kind of ends abruptly, and because it turns out that the filmmakers just completely ran out of budget and just could not film an ending for it, which is just fantastic. I wish I hadn't seen that before and had done that for this podcast and just have this completely incredulous, insane reaction to the fact that there was no ending to the film. So I think they're running out of budget, so it's just getting worse. It reminds me, I've seen these videos on YouTube that are just hard to explain what someone was thinking of, but these weird little CGI things with Spider-Man and Hulk and Elsa, and for some reason they're all pregnant and they just kind of walk around and bump into each other and are pregnant, and it's so surreal, it's almost a masterpiece. And this kind of reminds me, I think someone with $40 just kind of made a film. But so one of the big tittied women, which now that I think about it, I think all the women in the village have big titties. Is this a Scottish thing? No, because Shirley Manson is Scottish, and she is not as well endowed as the Scottish women in this film. So maybe it's just this one particular village that has hormones in the milk, and all the women just grow these ridiculously huge titties that jiggle. Because the animators decided there should be jiggling titties in a movie about a smelly beaver. I wish I could make things up like this. But, so, she and the corncob sailor guy notice they see the log with the beaver and the bunny brother, and it's going for the dam. So everyone rushes over, and by everyone I just mean the big-titted woman, the corncob sailor, and Sean Connery and his crew. And Sean Connery is yelling at the rich owner of the dam that they need to turn off the turbines because they could be killed, the bunny and the beaver. That sounds like a good, buddy sitcom. The bunny and the beaver. And suddenly the evil cop shows up in this fucking giant helicopter, and he's planning on he's going to capture the beaver to arrest her and take her away to Norway, I guess. Are they still sending the beavers to Norway? But the duck in the biplane, she can't let that stand. And she goes and she fucking bumps into the helicopter. This fucking giant, like, steel helicopter. Not like just the regular helicopter, like fucking like army helicopter type thing. And she bumps into it, and it's enough to just... Well, it doesn't quite crash, but it's enough to knock it off course. And the cops can't do anything about it. They can't get their beaver. Meanwhile, the beaver gets separated. I don't know what happened to the bunny brother. I must have missed it. But she ends up in, like, one of these pipes. And she's going swimming to the pipe. And Sean Connery's upset because he tried to reach for her, but he could not reach. But Uma Thurman has a plan and does this spectacular bungee jump and catches the beaver just as she's flying out of the pipe. And it's spectacular and wonderful, and he saved the day. So much action and suspense. One of the big titty women is piloting a fishing boat, and she's close, and the goat manages to get the beaver onto the fishing boat. But oh no! The goat falls, slips over the side, and lands in the water. Oh no, what will they do? Can they save him? And Sean Connery and Corncob Sailor Guy and everyone, they're rushing down to the village to see what's going on, because I don't know why it's easier for them to watch from the village than from the dam where they were, even though everything's happened in the exact same place it was before. But no, they manage. Big titty woman figures out the controls for the fishing boat and manages to save the goat. And again, the day has been saved. And there's still like half an hour left in this movie. I'm guessing it's going to be all about the cop trying to steal the beaver and everyone learning a lesson. Because I can't imagine there's going to be more than like 30 seconds of credits. Because there cannot have been more than like 10 people working on this film in the animation department. And what the fuck? A submarine just popped up from the bottom of the... It's under the... Now the fishing boat's on top of a submarine that just came out of nowhere. And according to the on-screen text, it's a Russian sub that's been deactivated due to faulty nuclear core. And in case you don't get it, and I'm glad they do this because I actually did not get it, which probably maybe if I was thinking about it a little more, I would have gotten it, but God, this animation is like giving me brain damage. But Sean Connery says, "This reminds me of an adventure I had before." That's right. It's a reference to the Hunt for Red October. I don't know if it's the exact same sub. Is it the Red October? But yeah, it's a reference to that. And which reminds me of this computer game. Which it's the computer game adaptation of the Hunt for Red October, which I played one time at the library. Back in the old days when you kind of had to like sign up for time to go on the computer. And because computers were like just really ancient, and you had to ask for like a game, and kind of the two games are like the Hunt for Red October and Wheel of Fortune. So I thought, okay, I'll play Hunt for Red October. And I could not figure out what the fuck you were supposed to do, but somehow the ship I was on sank, and the game was over. So... An Oregon Trail. You probably could have played Oregon Trail. So this was the equivalent of, like, dying of dysentery. Was my ship sank. Fuck you, Red October. But the duck is flying her plane, and she's gonna save them somehow. I really hope that she takes out the sub. Just fucking kamikazes it and takes out the sub. And the big titty woman on the fishing boat makes Indiana Jones jokes. Because I think this film is like determined to reference every other Sean Connery film. So I'm really hoping for a Finding Forrester reference. Just he goes up and Forrester, I have found you. That would be great. That's something I would have done had I ever gotten a chance to cast Sean Connery in a film. Forrester, I have found you. And again, apologies with this bad Sean Connery impersonation. So the duck in the biplane does fly by with rope and manages to save Uma Thurman goat. Just her. I don't know if she plans on flying, or not just her. Uma Thurman goat's a guy. But so far he's the only one saved. I don't know if the duck plans on going back to get the rest of the people, hopefully. But who knows, because the rope breaks, but luckily the villagers are there with one of those fireman trampolines, and they're able to catch the goat safely. Looks like I spoke too soon, because Goat Boy has no pulse, and they're worried. Is this going to be the end for him? If he doesn't wake up soon, he might never wake up again. And so Sean Connery then has a memory montage of all the fun times he's had with the goat, like teaching the goat how to skateboard, which I totally forgot that was in the description for the film, was that the goat skateboards. Skateboards. And this is the first we've seen of the goat on a skateboard. Some other fun memories is them recreating scenes from Singing in the Rain, Cabaret, and Rocky, which I don't know if Sean Connery's been in any of those films, which, I think just to keep the motif, they should have only been recreating scenes from Sean Connery films, like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and Playing by Heart, and Finding Forrester. Especially Finding Forrester. That would have been perfect. I don't know how. I just want to... You know what? I've never seen Finding Forrester, so for all I know, there might have been a Finding Forrester reference in this film. Luckily, there is some sort of magic milk or something that will help the goat come back to life. Unfortunately, no one has it, except for the duck that's in the plane. So she decides she's got one shot, one chance, and she throws the bottle from way high up in the sky. Why she didn't, fly down and land the plane, or even just come closer where it would have been an easier toss? I don't know. Why? It just boggles my mind. This is such an important thing. What if she missed and it fell and broke, or it landed in the ocean because you're 50 billion feet up in the air? How are you going to have that good of control in throwing a bottle? What if it's windy and the bottle goes crashing into a mountain or something? You could have flown down. But the grandkid does catch it, and they pour it down the goat's throat, and he's alive again. Or, I guess just alive, because he didn't really die, but he's awake again. Meanwhile, the Russian sub brings everyone on the fishing boat back to shore. Yes, the Russian sub just brought everyone. Why the fuck did you need to rescue the goat and horribly botch the rescue, and he almost died, when the Russian sub could have just brought everyone to shore? I thought that maybe the Russian sub was just broken and couldn't move, but no. But the police officer, he sees the Russian sub guy, and he tells him to hand over the beaver. Yes, give that Russian beaver. Beaver. Of course, since the Russian doesn't know that the beaver patrol cop has bad plans for the beaver, he hands him over, and everyone's just kind of crying and yelling. There's nothing they can do except for Sean Connery gives on a car chase that I'm pretty sure was just taken from Dr. No, or one of the Sean Bond. Sean Bond. Good name. Note to self. Use that in the future. But one of the James Bond films. But he manages to escape. The cop does. And so his new plan is to get on a skateboard. And that's right. It was the veterinarian was the skateboarder, not the goat in the description. I think. One of them was a skateboard. All I know is that it's taken like 2/3 of the film for the skateboarding scenes to actually happen. And skateboarding was part of the description. But Sean Connery is going to chase after the cop on a skateboard. Using his amazing skateboarding skills, Sean Connery manages to catch up to the speeding car, because the speeding car is no match for fucking Sean Connery on a skateboard. He is the Highlander. Highlander had skateboarding skills, right? That made him go faster. If not, that should be worked into the next movie. So Sean Connery's about to then kick some ass and beat this cop to a bloody pulp. But there's another cop that stops him. And the first cop, the one that wants to get rid of the smelly beaver, beaver, he ends up actually getting arrested because I guess he's not a real cop. They don't consider like animal. So I don't know if it's just a matter of they don't consider animal rescue to be real police, or has he been kicked off the force and he's just been impersonating still being part of animal rescue. And then plus, since the beaver is considered private property, he's stealing the beaver from Sean Connery. And so that's illegal. And he's getting arrested. And too bad, because Sean Connery's not going to get to, like, kick his ass. So, the smelly beaver, beaver, is crying. And Sean Connery, consoles her. Because, Sean Connery, he's all about making sure those beavers are pleased. Oh, dear Lord. Hopefully this movie will be over soon and I can be done with these beaver puns, which aren't even puns. It's just me saying beaver a lot. And he swears he's going to help her find her mom, which I don't know if he knows yet that the rabbit was her mom. But then he says he's going to take down all the beaver signs, which makes me wonder, like, does he have the authority to take down the signs? Because aren't beavers still illegal? Did they just change that law? Or has it been changed and they just never bothered to bring beavers back into Scotland? All the beavers are still hanging out in Norway? I mean, I understand it's fucking Sean Connery, but there's got to be even limits to what Sean Connery can do. So can he take down beaver signs, the no beaver signs? Does he have the power to let beavers back into Scotland? I guess he does, because Sean Connery, he wants beavers. Beaver. And the two big-titted girls from New York are talking, and so I'm guessing the blonde is just gonna hook up with Sean Connery, even though we haven't really seen them interact since then, but the other one's like, warning her about, he's a little weird and likes to skateboard, and he hasn't dated since his wife died, which, yeah, I mean, my mind is just kind of blank. I apologize for that. But yeah, we haven't, seen them interact whatsoever since that scene in the beginning, which I don't even know. Did he give her a ride or just take her suitcase? And apparently that's enough to... Well, I mean, I guess now that she's seen how he saves the animals and probably has seen his sweet, sweet skateboarding skills, she's like, yeah, he saved that beaver. Now he can pound mine. Beaver. Meanwhile, the duck, who's still flying the biplane, I don't know if at any point she ever just lands and gets off of it. And she's talking about how she's just going to take up golf and become a professional golfer and starts pretending to play golf on the wings of the plane. Yes. I don't know. I don't even know who the fuck she's talking to. Is she talking to us? She just talking out loud in her head. She's just rambling about how she's going to become a golfer. Which, I guess if she can fly a biplane, golf shouldn't be hard for her to pick up. And we're at the pub where all the villagers are gathered together. And I swear, this is an actual line of dialogue that happens. And remember, it's a fucking kids movie. But, I mean, I guess, Pixar throws in adult jokes too. But this one guy says, I'd like to find that beaver. I wonder if she stole my balls. I was hitting them hard. Hard, balls, beaver. I'm easily amused. I don't know if I love this movie or hate this movie, but it's had me giggling about beavers the whole time. And Sean Connery is in a kilt and he gives a speech about something, loving each other or make the world a better place. I don't know. And the one chick from New York that wants to bang him calls him the Guardian of the Highland. There's the title of the movie. Isn't there something like some game you're supposed to like punch someone every time the title of a movie is said? But then he gets off and he realizes, he's got the family and that's all he needs. His daughter, his grandson, and the goat. But it's got me wondering, where's the murderous butler? Shouldn't he be like watching over? Why wasn't the murderous butler the one taking the kid to school anyhow? Isn't that usually how it works in rich families? Granted, I guess, they didn't trust the murderous butler to not murder him on the way to school. But this seems like it would have been a good opportunity to bring the murderous butler along to murder to just fucking stab the guy trying to steal the beavers. Well, beaver. Plural, not plural, singular. My God. I can't even think straight because I've got beaver on my mind. Beaver on my mind. That's not a song, but it should be. Now, the big-tittied women from town are doing a song and dance number that's making me feel all sorts of wrong inside of my pants. Just, like, seriously, exactly, I'm speechless by the big titty song and dance. But then the big titty blonde, Sean Connery, says, I've got a little surprise for you. But he's not referring to his penis. Because I'm sure if he was referring to his penis, he'd say more, I've got a gigantic surprise for you. But he's going to take her to see the sunset on the cliff or something. Which I guess is a good idea, because then if he gets tired of her, he could just push her off the cliff. Well, yeah, I did say it was a good idea, didn't I? But no, I'm not saying it's a good idea. I'm saying it's a good idea from his point of view. But his daughter is happy, even though, quote, she has a funny accent and has an enviable chest. Which, yes, they bring attention to the fact that she's got big titties. Because it's not enough to have the big jiggling titties. They actually bring it up. Like, is this a kids movie? Have I been confused? Have I been confused this whole time? Or maybe because it's Scottish. They're like, yeah, tell the kids about the big titties. Yeah, I realize that's not anywhere near a Scottish accent. I don't do accents, okay? It's not something I've learned and practiced. And the focus is titties. Titties and beavers. That's what this movie is about. And Sean Connery, he drives his woman off to the castle or something, and there's fireworks going off, which is kind of backwards. The fireworks are supposed to go off after they get to the castle to let you know that they banged. I don't know. Though Sean Connery's getting up there in age. Well, he's dead now, so he's not getting up any further in age. But, he's an old man here, so, maybe he just shot his load a little too early, and that's why there's fireworks. And then we see the duck, who has managed to land, I guess, and she looks at us and gives us a thumbs up. And that's the end of the film. And lots of credits, over which we see the duck flying her biplane and Sean Connery skateboarding. But yeah, he's still credited as Sir Sean Connery in the film. And his character's name is Sir Billi, which means this old veterinarian that skateboards was knighted. Oh yeah, what am I thinking? His fucking daughter lives in a castle. Of course he's a knight, king thingamajig. So of course, yeah, he'd be Sir. Yeah, it's weird because League of Extraordinary Gentlemen was such a bad, failure of a movie that Sean Connery just retired. He was like, that's it. No more movies for me. I'm not even going to try to do the accent anymore, but, he's like, no more movies for me. I'm done. This is just it. I'm obviously never going to do another good movie again. And then he comes out of retirement to do this. Which you think, it would have to be, an amazing script or something to have gotten him to go, you know what, I'm going to come out of retirement. But I think probably it was more a little miscommunication where they said, you can do this completely from your house. You don't have to leave your house. And it's a movie about smelly beavers. And Sean Connery was like, yeah, smelly beaver. That's the only thing I can figure out, is that there was a smelly beaver, and that was enough for Sean Connery to be like, sign me up. And then for some reason, at the very end of these credits, we get this little montage of Sean Connery's character throughout life with his first wife and just all the magic moments they've shared, which just also happen to be the magic moments of famous movies, like him carrying her off the end of An Officer and a Gentleman, them on a ship like Titanic, and it ends with him at her grave. Which I guess I can see why they would leave that for the credits when everyone has left and all the kids are no longer going, but that was just kind of weird. Just, we're gonna end this film on the shot of him at his wife's grave. We just had a happy ending of he saved the beaver and he was gonna help save another kind of beaver. Really, I just want to keep saying beaver. I got a little extra time, I think. And instead of letting you guys go early, I'm going to throw in a extra bonus. I'm going to watch the first episode of Agua Donkeys. Not Aqua Donkeys, Agua, which is Spanish for water. So I don't know if this is in Spanish. In which case, I don't know why donkeys would be in English. They should have just called it Aqua Donkeys. But you'll understand more why it has a stupid name when I tell you that it is one of the originals from the failed streaming service Quibi, which is now available on the Roku channel. And I've watched some Quibi shows, and it's actually not a bad little format thing. I kind of like the quick, you're watching these shows and they're kind of 10-minute chapters. So I do kind of like the flow of it, but I can absolutely see why it failed, because you're basically watching a 2-hour movie in 10-minute increments, and they had 10 shows. So So there wasn't really like a lot, and plus you only watched it on your phone, so it wasn't something you'd want to really pay for. But I'm gonna give Agua Donkeys a chance, and I will watch it so you don't have to. And so we got two like hippie looking people, one of them like super old looking, probably like in his 40s, and the other one's like in his late 20s, and they're taking turns seeing how long they can hold their breath underwater. One of them takes too long, and so they pull him out, and he's gonna perform CPR, but no, he can't because he's not gay, and he goes to ask the lady of the house if she can, and she's like, I'll get my dad, and he's like, no, my friend's not gay either, and I'm done. So, yeah, I got 2 minutes into this. Again, Quibi, good idea. Complete failure. I mean, I shouldn't say complete failure because I did like that show about Dan Harmon's girlfriend finding his sex doll, and Reno 911 was great to see more of Reno 911. And there was a show where Thor's brother, like his real life brother, not Loki, is being hunted for sport. That was good too. So again, Quibi has about maybe 3, 4 hours worth of content worth watching. So yeah, that's it. Definitely deserves to fail. And it's just why did I? I could have ended it on a high note with a film about Sean Connery and his beaver. Ah, beaver. Anyhow, if you actually listened all the way through, please let me know that you actually are listening. Leave a comment or email me, velvetal@hotmail.com. And if you have a suggestion, I might do it. I will try to do it. I'm sick of trying to figure out what movies to watch. These are bad movies. So I will take your suggestion, and if I can find it for free, I will watch it. I am not paying for any of these movies because these movies are terrible. Blah blah blah. End scene.